a drummer who makes his living off of social media. He has a lot of flair and he's really doing his thing. Welcome to the show, Dana.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, man. Yeah, we appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
I'm
Of
your host,
course.
Kevin.
And I'm your co-host, Brian. And I just want to highlight this dope green hat that I'm wearing today. It's from our friends at King and Fifth. That's kingandfifth.com. You can find their info in our show notes.
Awesome. So yeah, our guest, Dana Lapointe. Welcome to the show, man. You've really been doing your thing on social media and it seems like it's afforded you kind of like the ability to live life how you want to live.
Yep, for sure.
So just looking at your videos, you started around what, like 2023, 2024? Is that when you started posting your videos?
Yeah, so I started originally I got the idea of wanting to do social media around that time. And it was kind of moving slowly. I pulled back a little bit from it. Um, but it actually didn't like fully set in until September of just last year, like less than a year ago.
Oh, wow.
No, that's amazing that, things could just happen so suddenly and now you don't have to work the typical job and you can kind of do what you love. At what point did you realize things started taking off?
Um, Honestly, it was pretty much immediately. I remember the first actual video I posted on Instagram back in September. It was hanging around like a few thousand views, which at the time was the most I had ever gotten. So I was
Right.
like watching it, and then it just blew up, and the algorithm was picking up from there.
Was there anything in particular you did with that video to really catch the algorithm?
I would say it was the fire. That was like the first time I did the fire, and that was like the hook that kind of everyone was liking.
Yeah. So how did you get that idea? Was it just like you woke up one day and you're like, you know what? I'm going to mess with putting fire on my drums.
So actually, it's kind of an interesting story. So have you guys know Matt McGuire for the drummer for Chainsmokers and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I originally I was looking at his videos where he was doing the flaming sticks on stage, and
Yeah.
I
Right.
always that. And I remember I was sitting kind of with my friend one day, and I was like, I really want to try lighting my sticks on fire. And we were kind of going over ideas of how to do that. And so originally I did one video with just my sticks on fire. I kind of just poured some stuff on them, so they didn't really last too long. But that was the first video that actually started blowing up. Was just my sticks on fire, and then I was like, I wanna light my cymbals on fire, type of thing. I was like, I'm gonna light my cymbals on fire. So I was pouring liquid on my cymbals, and then I didn't even mean to like light my drums on fire. What started happening was it was dripping down from the cymbals,
Mm.
and I was already filming, so I was just like, whatever, I'm just gonna go with it. And then I hit my drums, and the fire went up, and from there on, it's like I gotta do it on
Yeah,
the
I mean,
drums.
I never seen anything like it. I just remember, I was scrolling through profiles and I got to like just like, going through reels and
Yeah,
all of a sudden I see yours and there's fire all over the place. I'm like, what the hell is this, man?
yeah, it was definitely. I wasn't expecting to do it. But like after that, I was just like, yeah, I should keep trying it.
Well, isn't it funny how life is like that sometimes? Like you're going down the street in one direction, then all of a sudden you take a left turn and now you're on a totally different trip, you know?
I know.
Yeah, like sometimes the thing that you think is a mistake is what actually blows you up, like the fact that it dripped off your cymbals onto the drum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, did you get worried that your drums were gonna get messed up, or?
So I was a little bit worried originally, like especially when it first started happening. I was like, and like I was kind of getting a good taste, so I was like, I'm gonna just keep going and just hope nothing bad happens. But so like I use rubbing alcohol, so like it doesn't burn super long or like too hot. Um, So what I kind of started doing was I would record some audio sometimes, and then I would like kind of layer my drum head, get like an old drum head, put it on top, and like mask it.
Okay, awesome. Like, so yeah, you can play the drums really well, but what I found out about online is you know you're an entertainer, it's show business, so you
Yeah.
have to do something to pop out.
Right. Yeah. And I agree too. That was like the biggest thing because I mean, because when I started, I just wanted to really be a drummer and, but I kind of figured out there's musicians everywhere. It's hard to just kind of stand out just by playing
Very
the
hard.
drums. Yeah.
Very difficult. Yep.
Yeah. So that was like my gimmick that I kind of leaned into because it was working.
No, it's crazy how like in order for people to actually appreciate your ability to play, you have to have that gimmick to stop their attention, to stop the scroll.
Yeah. I
Yeah, that's
know.
the thing. Like me and Kev have talked about this in just in terms of like how do we make the podcast better? How do we get people to stop scrolling? You really figured it out because I'm scrolling away on Instagram. I see fire on a drum kit. I'm like, whoa, this kid's got something going on here. So yeah, me and Kev often talk about, oh, we could do X, Y, and Z to try to pop out a little bit because we live in a world now of short form content,
Yeah.
TikTok brain. So
Exactly.
you got about 2 to 3 seconds to catch someone's attention. Otherwise, they're
Yep.
scrolling to the next reel. So me and Kev kind of dial in some different looks, different hats, glasses. We're just trying all different things to, potentially grab people's attention just for a second. So they'll actually stop and check the podcast out and be like, oh, okay, these guys are actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, of course. I think that was the biggest realization to me too, because I remember shortly before I got that idea, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw a drummer, and I kind of just scrolled past, and then I thought about it. I was like, I feel like I should be supporting them, but then it kind of came to me like, why did I scroll past? You know what I mean? Like, and I realized there was nothing really there hooking me.
Yeah.
To stay. There's thousands of videos, hundreds of videos people are watching, so I feel like
Oh yeah.
you got to figure out what makes them want to stay, like what makes you worth watching over the next person below you or above you.
Right, because you're competing literally with thousands of other drummers.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of really good players out there. That's what kind of shocked me when I first got Instagram years ago. I'm just going, this is, I think, before they had reels, but just going through different posts, and I couldn't believe how many talented people there were who I didn't even know who they were. They were undiscovered, but they're amazing. Or even YouTube. Some of the drum covers I've come across on YouTube are incredible. Like this one guy, just Michael Jackson, "You Rock My World," and he just has his own feel. And I never heard of the guy, but I think the video has like a couple 100,000 plays on it. So it's all pretty interesting, man.
Yeah, and that's
I think
that's another thing too. Like because I know like I'd fall in the category of like performative drumming, that type of thing. I know a lot of people are against that too. And I try to like mix my content here and there with like actual playing. Like I want to practice a lot so I, don't fall into that stereotype of like not a great musician.
Like a gimmick. Like, oh, that's just that like fire guy. He can't play jazz, or he can't play heavy metal or whatever. What are you?
Exactly.
Yeah. What are you into? I've been a session musician for a while now, and I'm mostly into like jazz fusion, psychedelic rock. What kind of stuff are you into?
So I'm into like I'll play everything. I'll explain like my practice, what I do, but what I'm heavily into, I would say, is like the pop punk, pop rock type thing, like that heavy, fast. But a lot of what I do is like I'll play everything. Like every day that I sit down and practice, like I'll do my regular, exercises, and then I'll try to play like, a few songs from each genre. So I'll switch back and forth. I'll do some rock, then I'll do some jazz, then like some fusion, and some drumless tracks.
Okay, so like punk rock, we're talking like Blink 182, Dumpweed. You know
Yeah,
that
yeah,
track?
like that stuff, and then like also a mixture of like the new kind of like Avril Lavigne and like also some MGK, like that kind of stuff. A lot of stuff that
Okay.
like Travis Barker's been on.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, is Travis Barker like one of your
Yeah,
top influences?
yeah, I would say him and also Matt McGuire. I put
He's
Matt
great.
McGuire at like number one. He was like what I
He's flashy.
yeah
He does that
yeah
thing with, you know what I'm talking
with the
about?
hi hats, yeah, back and forth.
With the back and
Yeah.
forth on the high. I was like, well, first time I saw that him playing, I'm like, damn, this kid's got his own style. I never seen no one do that before.
Oh yeah, yeah. He was like one of the first people I saw on YouTube. I started watching his stuff when I was younger, and he was like my biggest influence. I also really liked that he plays across all genres. Like I've seen pop covers from him and rock covers, heavier stuff, EDM stuff.
Yeah, I've seen him do some EDM.
Yeah, so I admire all that. That's kind of also why I like to be as versatile as possible too. Like, because I still want to, in a way, have a like I want to push a music career to a certain degree. So I still want to, build that skill for drumming.
Yeah. So are you a session musician currently? Are you doing studio sessions? Are you playing out live with any groups?
So right now, no. I primarily like the last year or so when I started doing this, I like locked in on social media. But I want to start kind of breaking off performing and stuff like that. Um, I
Do
just
you
haven't
know
really
many
gotten there.
other musicians in your area, or do you need to kind of start networking, maybe going to open mic nights, different jams?
Yeah, I would definitely say I need to start networking. I'm not in a place with like a very big music scene. I know like few people who I've played with who produce stuff, but as far as like, it's not like Nashville or like LA or anything. Like there's not a lot of music.
Yeah. So where are you based out of right now?
So I'm in Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow. It's a beautiful area. I grew up in Connecticut.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a nice place. It's just, not a lot of there's definitely music going around at like restaurants and bars. There's
Is
people,
it
but
more of like a like I'm in Long Island right now, and here
okay.
there's really not that much. It's not like New York City. Like it's not,
Yeah.
you don't have a lot of originals or jazz groups. You mainly have cover bands. Is
Yeah,
that kind
yeah.
of what it's like in Cape Cod?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. There's some originals, but they're very small. It's usually slightly older people. They're not like looking for people like me, I would say, you know.
So yeah, like when did you realize that you could pursue this full time versus, I'm kind of blowing up on social media and this is a fun thing, but like when did it actually become like a career for you?
Um, Geez, I don't know. Like, I kind of, so like for me, I've always kind of had this passion for music and like doing something in music, whether it's social media or, you know, doing actual music. But I would say like a few months into kind of when I started doing this is when I feel like I saw like the possibility, like it was like not so much just me thinking about it, like actually earning money from it and making progress was kind of the biggest step up for me.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the money piece? Because I'm sure a lot of our listeners are wondering, how does this kid make money by lighting his drums on fire? Like, how does that exactly work? Can you speak to
Yeah,
that?
yeah, of course. So a lot of people like assume or kind of ask me like how much do I make per views, but I actually don't really make anything off views, and I think a lot of people
Mhm.
like who post videos on Instagram kind of also relate to that. um, but it's been a big thing of like with the fire. I think with the fire brings in views, and then with views comes like brand
Yeah.
sponsorships, things like that. So like I'll work with brands, and or a lot of the time it'll be like record labels, and they'll ask for a like a song promo. So I'll like cover their song, do the fire, and they'll pay me for the video. So I do a lot of those like on the regular, and it's
Oh
like
wow.
something that doesn't look like a promotional video. It kind of keeps the natural feel of like my
Yeah.
content, but gets the song out there. They pay me, you know.
So like, did you have to reach out to the brands, or once you started really gaining traction, they started reaching out to you?
Yeah, once I was picking up pace, I they were just reaching out to me. Even still today, I honestly don't really do any um, emailing, like not a lot. I don't really reach out to brands very much. It's usually like inbound stuff,
So you're
almost all.
not really like, you're not marketing your stuff. You're just allowing the brands to sort of come to you.
Yeah, and the biggest thing with it too is like I'm pretty busy right now, even that I haven't really gone out with, going outbound and like messaging brands because I'm already pretty full as is in the schedule. But I am in talks with getting a manager like for
Yeah.
social media, kind of with an agency. They can deal with that stuff. And
Oh
also
wow.
just in general, because I want to expand. And I think like just me by myself, it's hard to answer emails, negotiate,
I think
post
you,
edit.
yeah, like I've found with music, you really need a team, or
Yeah.
you need a band where like everyone's doing something. Like for me, I played in a lot of bands when I was younger, and I was pretty much always the guy who booked the shows.
Yeah.
So, other people would do things like design t-shirts, or they would write, they would write the songs, but I
Hmm.
pretty much, as the drummer, I always did the booking. And I remember one booking guy said to me, he's like, so this is weird. You're the drummer and you're booking the band. I'm like, that's me, man. Like that, that's what I
Yeah.
do. And because of that, I book all the guests on the podcast because
Right. Yeah.
I've been booking shows since I was like 16. Used to throw my own shows in Connecticut. So I've had a lot of success with it. So now I do all the networking on LinkedIn and more
Mhm.
recently Instagram, which is where I came across you on
Yeah.
IG. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when it comes to entertainment in general, you usually need more than one person. Like especially once you
Yeah.
get to a certain point where it's like you have some sort of audience or you're bringing in some sort of revenue. It's hard to like do everything on your own. And sometimes it sets me back a little bit too. Like I think it's beneficial for me to have been talking with some people to structure that because I'll get pushed back and a lot of brands don't like that. Labels don't like that, especially when they order stuff from me. And
Like, how do you ensure that you're being compensated fairly? Like you're negotiating probably the max of what you can get.
yeah. So it's hard right now.
That's probably
Just
one of the harder parts of it, right? Like figuring out,
yeah,
okay, what do I charge this brand? What do I charge this record label?
yeah. That's the hardest part with being by myself. Like, because a part of why I want to work with an agency is because they know rates. They know how to negotiate on your behalf. When you have somebody backing you, it's
Like
harder
that's what
for
they do. That's
yeah,
that's their whole thing.
exactly.
So to kind of bring them into your business, that's
Right.
huge. If you can, if you could find the right people, obviously you got to trust them. Anything dealing with money, you really got to trust the people that are helping you.
Yeah, 100%. And I think right now, like I think the biggest thing that's kind of like given me a slight upper hand with negotiating is basically like my analytics, like my monthly
Yeah.
views and engagement showing like, I can turn over something decent, it'll be worthwhile. Especially like when I started to like when things really started rolling in, it was probably like late fall, early winter. I think like somewhere around December, I think I had it was over 100 million views for
Wow.
the month of December.
Oh
So like
wow.
that was a big,
That's
upper
not
hand for
bad.
me.
Not
Yeah, it
bad
was pretty
numbers.
good.
Yeah.
But yeah, every month since I started, pretty much like the first month was like when I started posting, I hit like it was 30 million views, and then it kind of was going up. But ever since then, I've been in the tens of millions area every month
Wow.
since.
How much do like hashtags and descriptions matter, or is it more so just like visual flash, like something catches the audience attention? Like, what is it that?
I think so. I think hashtags and things matter to a certain degree. In my experience, I've found out like if you have a video that's gonna do well, generally, it'll usually do well regardless of like if you use the hashtags. I think for me too, like obviously I have an audience, so like Instagram is gonna push it to who already watches my videos.
Right, right.
I think when you're like starting out, hashtags matter a little bit to help people find your audience. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
if I was using like hashtags for fitness content, you know, they're not gonna be watching my drum content like that.
Do you feel like advertising, like spending to boost your posts? Is that something that you do, or is that like you just want to do it all organically?
Yeah, so I've never paid to advertise any of my posts.
Oh, wow.
I think like a big thing with structure can get you there. I've always felt like I just like doing it organically entirely. Like I've never been, uh, you know, on board with buying followers or buying things or even just running ads. Like I don't like running ads through Instagram or paying for anything. You know, I want people to
It's
like
very
if they
expensive too. That's the thing. Like I've
yeah,
done
it
it
is expensive.
for I teach, so I've run, drum lesson ads locally in
Yeah,
Long Island, and it's very expensive. I mean, you're spending maybe $20 a day, and you're
hmm,
not, maybe you get one lead out of dumping
yeah,
$20, and so it's not the best ROI. Let's put it like that.
yeah, 100%. And I think like once again, you know, if a video is going to do well, you know, you're gonna get traction on it. But I have noticed that, like, for example, like some brands, some labels or things, they'll want to boost my posts. It's just like part of the deal. So like, if I have a video that's doing well, and they pay to boost it, it'll like skyrocket. You know,
Skyrocket.
if it's
Yeah.
already doing well, yeah. But if they pay to do a video that's like doing not as well, it's not going to get the same turnover.
Or do you feel a lot of pressure of having to consistently deliver X amount of views, like especially when working with these brands?
Yeah, I definitely I think there's been a big like thing on me where like since, my first video, since everything's kind of been blowing up, like I have like I would even almost say like a slight addiction to like performance. Like when I put something out, like I'm like structuring it and picking out songs to like do numbers because I want to see numbers every time I post.
So like, do you have any plans to kind of pivot? Because I know mostly you're playing now, but maybe bringing on other drummers or musicians and doing interviews or playing together with them. I've seen like side by side the guitarist and one screen and you on another.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. So I've actually been in talks with some musicians, some other drummers, and also just like musicians in general on Instagram about doing collabs. Because I want to also, I think it's great if I can share my audience and they do the same. We can kind of build something between that.
Yeah, we've been trying out lately. Do you know the collaboration setting on
Yeah,
Instagram?
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about it. A buddy I grew up with, he sent me a DM. This is months ago now. He said, "Hey, I think you guys should use this collaboration feature. You can, just post it once, and then it
Mhm.
posts the video on your page and the other people who you tag." And I
Yep.
was like, "Oh, that actually sounds pretty good." So now me and Kev, anytime we have someone from Instagram and we post a clip, we go ahead and do that because it's one of the ways to just get more traction. And we're always testing out different things, though. Ultimately,
Yeah, I think I personally think it's great to test things out. I'm big on that. And also, yeah, the collaboration option. I've used that. I usually use it with like brand deals because they like to. It's like part of their thing. But I've used it a couple times between people for collabs, and it's honestly been really good because I've gained a lot of followers from their page too. You know, like
Because it
especially if it's
because it dumps
yeah,
straight onto their page, which that's the coolest part to me.
yeah, and especially if they're like in the same genre, like another musician, then yeah, you know, you can get a lot of traction straight from their audience, especially if they have an established one too.
Like, do you have also any kind of plans to upgrade your infrastructure? For example, I'm gonna get this high quality Nikon camera or this fancy audio setup.
Yeah, I've actually been doing some upgrading. So I recently upgraded my camera because I was using my phone at first. I would just strap it to my head on like a just like a made strap. But once
Yeah,
I
that's
started
cool.
like earning money, I got a camera, I got an actual head strap, and that's kind of you can kind of see it in my videos where the POV slightly gets a little bit wider, a little bit clearer. You can kind of see my drums and like my hands more, whereas before my phone was pointed upward slightly,
I see.
especially like when I first started.
Do you find like just improving the video quality, has that had any positive effect on how either like brands work with you or even the views?
Um, I think yes and no. Like, honestly, and I feel like, a lot of people get really tied into quality. My honest opinion is when it comes to social media, like, the great quality doesn't really matter as much as a lot of people think. Like, I think there's a point of it's like just, once your video is good enough to be watchable and it's entertaining, there's a good hook, because people are going to be watching your videos for a total of like 15 to 30 seconds. I mean, it's not like they're watching a
Yeah.
movie. So, like, I think there's a point where quality gets less and less important once you get to a certain point. So, I think if I was just using like a better head mount and, things like that, I could probably still be using my phone. But I think it's also like a thing of like using a camera was definitely a lot easier to pull my videos off of. And I think brands, when it comes to brand stuff, they like it slightly more. I think it's less for like just the audience and more so like
Mhm.
brands
Yeah,
enjoy it, can get some film quality.
Yeah, I've
that's
heard
interesting.
if the quality is too good, it starts looking like an advertisement and it kind of
Yeah,
turns people off.
yeah.
It's like who has a camera this clear unless it's a major company trying to sell you something. So
I know exactly, and there's been some videos where it's like I've seen some car videos where it's like they'll make really cool videos. Those get views because the quality's sick and the editing is sick. That's one thing. But I think for me, like where I'm making basic videos, like quality matters until it's watchable, and then after that, it's like the better and better it gets. People are less focused on the quality and more like what you're actually doing. Because I could get a super expensive camera and be filming a whole lot of nothing. No hook,
Right.
no
yeah,
actual content. They're not going to stay just because my camera is good.
exactly. So like, with anything, the longer it goes on, people kind of get accustomed to it and I guess it becomes passe. So do you obviously you don't have to give away your secret sauce, but do you have like other tricks in mind for like, okay, people have seen enough of the fire thing. Now I'm gonna start doing this other thing to keep the views, to keep the train going.
Yeah, I mean, I have had some ideas. I've experimented a little bit with a couple other things. Um, I have gotten the most positive feedback on the fire. Like when I've done other things, a lot of people just ask me for
Like, where's
fire
the
again.
fire, man?
Yeah, it's a lot of them like it. And but one thing that I was doing that seemed to get a lot of attention, like a lot of people were commenting on, is I have these or I had these packets, and I would sprinkle them on my cymbals and my drums, and they would change the color of the fire. So like when the
Hmm.
fire
Oh,
would heat
wow.
up, hit it, it would be like green and blue slightly. And a lot of people were commenting on that. So I might do like different colors. I have been experimenting with like outdoor videos, so I have like some videos outdoors with some different type of effects. that are on backlog. I'm gonna test stuff out with that, but I'm gonna honestly just keep experimenting with things. Like I usually go through, you know, mentally, like what is eye catching, you know what I mean? But also not gonna like completely destroy what I'm doing. Like I know one guy does
Yeah.
but you know, I probably would not put paint on my drums.
There's
And
like
not even for
there's a line. There's a line that you
yeah,
don't necessarily want to cross at a certain point. Yeah.
yeah. And the thing is too, like, you know, I don't even like for me too, like I don't light my personal drums and cymbals on fire. Like I have a completely cracked and ruined pair of cymbals. Like I swap out all my cymbals. You know, a lot of the time I'll move my mics because I record the audio beforehand. And then like I got a matching snare and floor tom if I'm gonna do that, and I'll just swap them out. You know, the same color. So
Yeah.
I try to make it look like, you know, there's nothing out of place, but I won't actually, you know, do anything to my actual kit.
Yeah, I was wondering that when I first watched the first video, I'm like, man, this is pretty cool, but this has got to be, you know, wearing
Yeah,
down those drum heads, or, you know, degrading the cymbals a little bit. Maybe I don't really know like what fire does to drums, but no,
yeah,
definitely like you're talking about, you know, marketing wise, uh, the fire just it grabs you. So I think you really landed on something nice. And regardless of what you do in the future, I think you're always going to have that fan base of people who know you as like the fire guy. So
yeah,
I think you'll always have that niche.
yeah, 100%. And I think too, like I think a lot of people get, you know, confused about that in the comments too. And I always, you know, advocate. I'm always like, you know, don't do it because I think a lot of people don't realize like I have, you know, extra kits because I also get a lot of, you know, stuff sent for free. So like I have a lot
Right.
of, you know, cheap kits and stuff on backlog that like I think people are, you know, thinking I'm doing this to all my nice gear, and they get the impression that like, oh, they're gonna do it to their one kit and it's gonna be fine. But like I always try to tell people like not to do it because, you know, it's not gonna do anything crazy. Like, it's not gonna burn it down to the ground, but like, you know, don't do it to your nice stuff.
It's going to degrade the quality of the drum heads probably at some point.
Yeah, 100%. Like one time when I had my other drum heads on, and you know, I was playing on them after I did the fire videos, and it was amazing how dead they were. Like they had
Oh, I
no
bet.
tone. Yeah, don't sound good at all, but they look good for the video.
Now, yeah, in terms of sponsors or brands that are sending you free stuff, like are you getting stuff from like DW? Like what are some of the brands that are hitting you up with stuff?
Yeah, so nothing from like so I've been in talks with you know, drum companies about endorsements, but I don't get stuff sent from like big name drum brands. And I don't currently do endorsements. And I also don't reach out to endorsements either. Like I did just get cymbals sent to me from a Turkish cymbal brand. They're called like Trachean. Um, you know, they were surprisingly on board with the fire videos. I think they just, you know, like the exposure. But
Yeah.
a big reason why I don't reach out to brands for like endorsements and things. And a lot of people always ask me too, like, why don't you want to get endorsed? Like, you have the following or like the views, like, you should get an endorsement. But I don't do it because a lot of them, you know, obviously I have to use their gear on camera, number
Yeah.
one. You know, that's part of the
100%. Yeah.
agreement. And I don't want to, you know, be doing that to because that would be my kit. You know, they're going to send me a nice kit. I'm going to be playing that kit. I don't want to do it to that. And number two, you know, a lot of them are either not with that or are going to have very strict rules with like what I can and cannot do,
Yeah.
you know, because it's their brand image. And I completely respect that. So, but, you know, for me to keep doing
Yeah.
what I need to keep doing, because, you know, this is what kind of makes me my income. A lot of labels want to do that, you know, because views, you know, brands want it. So I feel like I don't need the endorsement, especially since I have the stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing because I feel like, yeah, once you're endorsed by a specific company, it's kind of like they own you in a way Kind of like
Yeah.
when, bands sign really bad deals with record labels and they sell like, like that group TLC. They were, I think, 10 times platinum. What do they call it? Diamond. They were 10
Yeah.
times platinum on whatever the album was with that song, No Scrubs. And I remember there was an interview where they're on TV and they're saying, "We are broke. We have no money. Our album is selling millions of copies." So yeah, I think if you could go without the endorsements, it's more like it'll keep it from not being so much of a job and it'll
Yeah.
feel more free and open, which is kind of sounds like how it is right now for you.
Yeah, 100%. And I kind of made that pivot when because like when I started, gaining my followers, because I always wanted to be, endorsed by a drum company. I feel like every young drummer, especially, was like working on their thing, like being endorsed is one of those goals. And I started reaching out to companies to get endorsed when I first started getting a following. And a lot of them wrote back probably because of me getting traction. But it wasn't really the response I was expecting. A lot of them wanted to make a lot of changes to my content.
Yeah.
And from that point on, I don't really feel the need to have an endorsement. I'm not on the road right now. I don't need any more kits. So
Yeah, I think that's the beautiful thing about being independent is you get to do what you want, how you want. And if you start getting locked into these deals, now it's like you're working a job. Somebody's always on your back and telling you, hey, do it like this, do it like this. And
Yeah, because then at that point, it's kind of like you have a new boss, and
yeah,
this new boss is going to say, "Hey, I want you to flip your stick after you do, at the 30-second mark. I want you to do
yeah,
a stick flip." And it's like, look, I'm doing my own thing here. I'm not going to like specifically follow what you want me to do just because you're paying me money. So I
yeah,
think that's important, kind of to establish that independence that you already have and to kind of like, hang on tight to that because there's so many situations where you could bring on an endorsement and then it feels like a job and then you don't even want to do drums anymore or
yeah,
um, like, I mean, it's funny when I think back, I moved to LA at 22 with an
mm,
indie rock band. It didn't work out, but I stayed out there for maybe another 8 years and I was doing session musician work.
yeah,
And it just like, I got to the point where I was making all of my money off music. So that was the dream, right? You think that would be the dream.
yeah,
And I just remember I had played a show at the House of Blues in West Hollywood, and I came home afterwards, and I felt like someone had like knocked all the air out of me. I just felt
mm,
like a balloon that had been popped, and I'm just kind of sitting there like I've wanted this my whole life, and I don't like it. I don't like the people I'm playing with. I
yep,
don't like what I'm being paid. I feel just like a mercenary, a hired gun.
mm,
So it, ultimately ended up moving back to New York. That's where my family is. I
yeah,
teach here. I love teaching. So I think God kind of moves us in different directions, different areas at different points in our life. And I'm grateful for all the opportunities I've ever had, the touring
mm,
opportunities when I was younger. Yeah, I'm grateful. I feel blessed for all of that, but now my focus is on teaching the kids and or adults. Adults are tough though because we don't learn the same when we're older.
yeah,
So I had this one student. She was maybe in her 50s,
mm,
and we're going over Billie Jean because
yeah,
Billie Jean. I remember reading the Modern Drummer one time. They said if you could play to Billie Jean, then you have feel. You probably have some decent feel. So I always give that track to my beginner drummers. And she was trying to do it. She just couldn't get the coordination. And I'm
yeah,
like, okay, keep at it, keep at it. And then she quit out of nowhere. And I think it's because on my Instagram, I have an 11-year-old, 10, 11-year-old kid
yep,
playing Billie Jean, and he's just like killing it. So I think she's watching my Instagram videos, thinking to herself, "Man, like I suck. This kid's 11 and I can't do it. Like, What's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, was
Yeah, I
playing
agree.
drums something that came to you naturally, or is that something that you have to really go hard at getting your skill set up?
Um, I think it was kind of a 50-50. I think the general, the basis of it came naturally because I started when I was 5-ish years old. I was between
Oh,
4 or 5 years. Yeah, and my parents just initially bought me a kit, and I was kind of getting into it, playing it. They saw I was enjoying it, so they were slowly upgrading me. And then I got my first electric kit, and from there I kind of just kept playing every day. I never had a teacher, which I wish I had at an earlier point, because I think once I got to be in middle school and like early high school where I was like old enough to start comprehending more stuff, I felt like I lacked certain technical ability that would have been beneficial to have a teacher for those
yeah.
types of things.
I was just going to say, with me and my students, I'm always showing them from day one, okay, let's do matched grip,
Mhm.
stick grip. And because usually kids will hold too tight onto the stick, or, more like have the thumb on top. And I'm like, no, let's just focus on matched grip, get this
Mhm.
down. And then if you want to change it, that's fine. But let's get this one skill down now while you're young. So then when you're older, if you want to learn traditional grip or French grip, you want to do something else, fine. But you got to get matched grip down first and play that on a couple different tracks and show me that you can do this before you go off on your own saying, oh, I want to hold the sticks like this. It's like there's
Yeah,
a reason. There's a reason why people hold the sticks with match grip. There's a reason
right.
why people use traditional grip more so for jazz. So I always try to, get that knowledge into my kids really quickly that look, let's get the match grip down and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, yeah, and I think like that was because I ended up getting a drum teacher for a little bit when I was in high school, but I think the technical ability thing was the biggest thing that because I at this point I could already learn songs by ear because I was just playing songs. I was already I had pretty much feel, but then I had to go back and do the boring stuff like years into playing, which is like I should have been doing at the
Like
beginning.
we talking like rudiments,
Yeah, like
Buddy Rich
sticking,
book,
all that stuff,
stick
technique.
control, syncopation,
Yep,
all
yep,
that kind of
and
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and I like to practice that a lot now because I even now I still feel like like man I must be a little behind, like I really try to nail that stuff in because I feel like I could be so much better if I maybe had some guidance, especially at the very early stages when I was a lot younger.
100%.
Um, but I'm still grateful for being where I am. I think even just my parents being so on board with me playing and supportive too was a big thing. Gave me a lot of time to practice.
So
Yeah,
like,
like my dad used to drive us to shows, when we're in high school and not old enough to drive. So,
Yeah,
same thing for me. Like parents were always like super into me doing drums and music and just super supportive. It's awesome.
now that you do have money coming in, do you plan on hiring a tutor or taking lessons?
um, I have thought about it. I was thinking about connecting back with my drum teacher that I was working with when I was in high school. I was doing like private lessons because I had a music teacher at school, and then I'd come home after school and I'd do private lessons with my drum teacher. And I was thinking about going back to that to really nail in some things, especially like trying to further my music career and really working on like being good as a musician rather than just a performer.
Yeah, like you want to be able to, like with session playing, you basically have to be able to play anything. So
Yeah.
you walk into the studio and the band leader, manager, whoever's like, all right, we're going to be doing this track today. And maybe you had no preparation, you had no
Mhm.
idea what they were going to throw at you. but you have to jump on it and do it,
Yeah.
and a couple takes. They don't want, anyone I've ever worked with, they don't want to do more than a couple takes because they feel like they're wasting money or they're taking up too much time. So they really want a drummer who's going to nail something randomly on that first or second take. So I
Yeah.
really, when I was in LA, I really pushed myself to be able to be a session musician where I could play across the board, folk, country, jazz, R&B, reggae,
Mm.
blues, rock, like just when I would practice, as part of my practice routine still to this day, I'll do different genre songs all in a row. So cover
Yeah.
songs. I'll do like, Sam Cooke, Summertime. Then I'll do Dave Brubeck, Take Five. Then I'll
Mhm.
do Miley Cyrus, Party in the US. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
different genre, different genre, different genre. Because that's the advice I got when I wanted to become a session musician. The session guitarist I knew, he's like, play every genre. Just
Yeah.
keep playing every genre over and over and over. And that's really what's going to get you to be a solid session guy.
Yeah, yeah, and I think too, like especially when I was in high school, when I had band class, I would do a lot of like outside of school jam sessions with like kids who were on different instruments, different genres, and I would just force myself to play with them, just like whatever they were playing, and I keep that like since I don't jam with people as much, I try to keep that part of like my practice thing where I'll throw on different genres, and then I'll do like drumless tracks. I won't do any listen through. I'll just put on random ones and play, and I'll kind of like force myself to try to listen to like the stops and like where things are, and kind of just improvise like right off rip.
That's awesome.
So like do you ever foresee yourself maybe putting the social media thing on the background and you're joining a band and you're really focused on like being a musician and touring and things of that nature, or do you plan on more so always keeping the social media in front?
Yeah, so I think if I ever got the opportunity to tour or to play with like a big artist or a bigger artist, that would be worth it. Or is something because I my whole dream was to tour eventually. Like my biggest one goal is play a stadium one day,
And
one way or
do it while
another.
you're young, man. I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
I
So
did all my touring from like 16 to 22,
yeah,
So like cuz as you get older, you really, those long drives, being around the same people all the time, like it gets harder and harder. The older I got, harder and harder to tour. So if you get an opportunity, cuz how old are you? You're in your
I'm
20s?
20. Yeah, I'm
You're
20.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, right now is the perfect time to start touring and start moving towards those opportunities, whether you get it off Craigslist or, from an advertisement at a guitar center, Sam Ash, like
Mhm.
just start moving in that direction. And you're a solid player. So I know that, if you auditioned, you'd probably be able to get some of these roles and then you'd be thrown on a tour at some point. So I would definitely go push in that direction because I was blessed to be able to tour all over the place at a young age, and it was amazing. There's nothing like it. Truly, there's
Yeah.
nothing like it, and there's nothing like meeting different types of people every single night and having conversations with people from all over the world, and you just start to say, "Hey, people are really interesting in Germany," or "People are really interesting in Costa Rica." You just your worldview kind of opens up a bit,
Yeah.
and so yeah, if you could tour, definitely do it, man.
Yeah, and I think aside from that too, something I feel like gets harder, like drumming and playing instruments. I feel like a lot of people underestimate how physically taxing it can be, especially when you're doing a long set.
Are you still here? Did we
Oh,
lose
yep.
you?
Do we lose you there?
Okay, there we go.
Sorry, I cut out for a second.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
last part we heard was how taxing it can be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think a lot of people underestimate, especially when you're running long sets and like fast pace, like playing an instrument, especially drums, can be hard on your body too, and things like that. Like it is a
Oh
workout.
yeah.
It's definitely a workout.
Hard on the wrists, hard on the ankles, the knees, the thigh, the groin, a
Yep.
lot of different areas. I mean, it's kind of like one of my teachers used to say, it's a full body workout, the drums.
Yeah.
It's like cardio on speed,
Yeah.
like especially in, like you said, if you're playing like fast stuff like punk rock, pop punk, metal, death metal,
Yep.
that's like going into the gym and just like
Yeah.
putting the reps in, getting the training in.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I go to the gym frequently too, and I've always told people like nothing makes me sweat more than like playing a hard set on drums.
No, that's crazy. Just like in terms of people that you do want to play with, who are some of the bands or individuals that you want to actually play with, and have any big drummers like any of your heroes seen your videos and reached out to you?
Um, so yeah, like a couple, like actually, Matt McGuire, I've DM'd him like a couple times, but he
Yeah.
has seen like a couple of my videos, which was like huge to me, and still is. Um, but apart from that too, like a couple drummers like Estepario, Siberiano, he's super technical, but he followed me on Instagram not too long ago, and that was definitely big for me too because I watched his videos a lot. Especially, I watched a lot of people react to him, and I look up to his technical ability. And a lot of Instagram drummers too. Like before I was big, I remember seeing a lot of Instagram drummers, and I'd always think like, like what are they doing that I'm not doing? Like, because they're in a way better position than me. But a lot of those guys, I've connected with on Instagram too eventually, and I never thought that I was going to be in any way talking to them or messaging them.
That's crazy.
Did they give you any insights on like how to grow your career as a drummer?
Um, not like so much. A couple people I have talked to, we've kind of gotten into that conversation. We've talked about content, but a lot of it is honestly just like connecting, especially just like as musicians. And I kind of appreciate that too, like in a way, taking all the the social media and stuff out of it, and just being able to like talk to them as a person. Especially since I watched their videos and I've always seen them from the perspective of everyone else. I think being able to just talk with them was really nice.
Yeah. I mean, that brings me back to high school. I started playing when I was 14, and I remember, high school. I'm 39, almost 40, so kind of dating myself here, but we didn't have cell phones in high
Yeah.
school, so it was a totally different experience. Once I got into college age, okay, now people had phones, but they weren't smartphones yet. They were just like flip phones, Nokia, whatever.
Yeah.
Like everything has changed now. And I kind of look back on those early days fondly because it was kind of just me and the drums. I get home from school, go down the basement in my parents' house and just jump on the kit, start smashing. And
Mm.
I wasn't checking my Instagram feed. I wasn't going on MySpace or Facebook or whatever social media was out at the time. And so I miss those days where the smartphone did not exist, social media did not exist. I could just come home from school, jump on the drum throne and start playing.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Because you're a bit younger, so you've grown up with YouTube and you've grown up with smartphones and things like that.
Yeah. This is actually something I've talked to a lot of people about. And I in a way I do wish that I kind of had the opportunity to be able to like get my exposure just through gigging, and really being a great musician where before a lot of technology. um, because now, to like we were saying, getting attention, getting exposure comes with, being able to grab people's attention quickly and being flashy. You have to be kind of above everyone else in terms of, your look and things. So I do wish that I did have the opportunity to play when it really meant being a good musician, before they could program drums, and before you could just make short videos and you had to play live in front of people.
So I noticed that you don't have like too many pictures of your face on your social media. Do you kind of do that to preserve your anonymity, or is that just like not intentional? It just happens that you don't take too many pictures of yourself.
It's a little bit of both. I'm not necessarily against, having my face on social media. There's been a couple of videos. I did do a couple where I had my face, although I had face paint on. I was doing it for a couple of videos. Um, but I think like the biggest thing came from, you know, when I was experimenting with different angles, different things. I think POV ended up being the most eye catching and also most like engaging because, it I kind of was doing the job of the filmer and me playing at the same time, where I could move my head with the
Right.
music. I could make the video feel like it wasn't just a camera on a stand. I had feel, and I had like the engaging bit where, because like with a drum kit too, like you're sitting behind it, you can see all the drums. It's not so much like with a guitar or with other instruments where, you can't really see it from your perspective. So I think it keeps it engaging for a drummer because, the drums, I don't think it's like that instrument that the average person like, because when we're going to a concert, a lot of people are either going there to see, their idol who is usually singing or the lead singer.
Singers.
We're
Yeah.
usually in the back as drummers. So I think like being able to make it engaging makes a slightly less interesting, you know, instrument on the surface, make it more interesting for people.
And I think it's one of those instruments that truly is difficult. If you don't
Yeah.
get started with the drum, kind of like I was saying, I had that adult student who quit after
Mhm.
just a couple of lessons. She wasn't really making the progress that either of us had expected. But I got a 11-year-old kid. Pretty much, I show him something, he plays it, and then I
Yeah.
say, "Put your own spin on it." And then he'll show me the same thing, but with his flair on it. So I'm always trying to do that with my students. Okay, you could play X, Y, and Z, but let me hear you in the performance.
Yeah.
What are you, because, if you're not putting yourself into the performance, you might as well just, cue up a drum machine and call it a day because
Yeah.
that's going to play perfectly in time, 4/4, whatever. And I always just try to get that knowledge into my students young, that look, learn something, yeah, figure it out how it is, know what notes are being played, but then take it and put your own spin on it, your own stamp, and then show me a week later. I'll come back for a lesson the week later, and then I'll ask them, okay, show me what you've done with it. And that's, to me, that's one of the most important things I've landed on as a musician and teacher is, being more open,
Yeah.
not locking it, not, boxing yourself in, let's say.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's also super important, that I play to drumless tracks, and I also just put on music I've never heard because, if I don't know what's going on, I can only play what I, feel, what I think I should play, and I'm kind of forced to improvise right then and there. So I think it gives, me a chance to put my own spin on things without, having the pressure of the actual song, because when I don't know what's going on, I only can do what I think.
So,
Yeah,
hey man, Yeah.
improvisation is awesome. I mean, like when we look at stuff like jazz fusion, so much of it, no song is ever played the same twice. Kind
Yeah.
of like, or you think, a jazz singer like Amy Winehouse when she was alive. If you watch her live performances, every single set, every single track is different every time she
Hmm.
does it. If she's in the studio, every take is different. So improvisation, that's one of the most important things to me when it comes to drums.
Yeah, that's something I did a lot. Actually, I was doing it the most, I think, a lot, in high school. Because when I was in jazz band, I'd take my music home. I'd learn it usually by ear, like I'd listen to the tracks online. I'd learn the sheet music, and then when it came to concerts, and I think my music teacher hated this, but I would leave all my sheet music at home. I would never use a stand on stage, and I would just always like, because I had the part memorized, but I was
All
like,
feel.
I'm gonna put my thing on the track.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen college players at, prestigious jazz colleges where, you see them playing, they're playing, but they're looking at, the sheet music, their sight reading, and they're just stiff. They don't,
Yeah,
they don't have that certain looseness that like a Buddy Rich might have, a Elvin Jones, Tony Williams, like some of these great drummers. It's just some of these guys that go to school, they just think, okay, I got to lock into the sheet music, but really it's more so what you're saying. And that's what
yeah,
I've learned over the years is, okay, yeah, know what you're playing, know what the notes are, know the time signature, right? Know all of that. But when you're going to perform it, perform it. Don't
yeah,
perform it while you're reading the music. So that's
correct.
always been huge for me. And that's a big teaching point. I don't even teach out of books anymore because I
Yeah,
find that someone could get really good really fast if they play cover songs over and over and over and over, different
mhm,
genre, different genre. That's what I got my 11-year-old doing now. We're doing reggae. Before that, we were doing some pop punk.
mhm,
Before that, we're doing some Beatles, Michael
yeah,
Jackson, just switching it up, switching it up. And he's getting better and better. And I'm just really proud of him.
yeah.
Uh, hey man, we need to end the show. Unfortunately, it was an amazing conversation. But before we get out of here, did you want to leave our audience with any closing thoughts? And for those who don't know, where can they find you at?
Yeah, so you can find me Dana Lapointe Drums. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. And honestly, I would just say, just, keep going at it, keep doing what you're doing. Because I didn't think that I was going to end up here. And I would just say, like, trust whatever's happening. Because, I trusted what happened with me, and it just happened to lead me to where I am.
Amazing, man. Yeah, we definitely look forward to seeing where your adventure takes you, man. You're doing great things, and we'd love to have you
Thank you.
back sometime.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, a lot of fun, man. We'd love to have you back sometime and hope you have a great night over there.
Thank you. You too. I thank you for having me.